Hi there, and thank you for clicking on the video. Today we're going to be covering the Synapse. This is for arty prevents camping 1645. Been asking for a Synapse build for a while. Um, so let's go over the Synapse. It's an MR11 weapon. We'll look at the wiki. MR11 rifle. Um, it's a beam type, so you have to hold it more or less full auto, but it's a beam. It matters in terms of multi-shot. Uh, Very high raw damage potential. Crit chance is really high. It's 39 crit chance. Crit damage is like 2.7, 2.6. Yeah, 2.7. Decent fire rate of 12. Status chance is a little low, but that's not going to be an issue. But the big thing is that it's going to deal pure corrosive. So this is going to be for killing Grenier. This weapon I previously used in the gas build. So you can definitely get some interesting damage out of this. But we are going to go over a relatively new bro friendly build, then we'll go into its, its scalings. Actually, let's get rid of the Panzer first. So we'll cover the new bro build real quick. Good old serration. Gamma mutation. Multi-shot. Crit chance, crit damage to definitely take advantage of the high crit chance and the crit multiplier. We're basically going to be dealing almost 100% crit, even with just a base point strike. And this is going to be for like regular star chart, right? So we need what do we got? Fire rate. And we more or less have two flex slots, honestly. Because the weapon already deals pure corrosive. You kind of have to make a decision on where you're going with the build. The Nubro build is going to be very, very easy. So we're just going to use 90 mods. You could go for more corrosive, and this wouldn't be an issue in any way, shape, or form. Toxin and electric gives a nice, decent, raw damage boost. This is going to allow you to hit higher crits because it's modded, right? And for regular star chart, frankly, this is going to be a-okay. Let's just go ahead, and this is no Exilus, no Arcane or anything like that. So we'll take a look at the damage on this. It's just straight up corrosive. We're not dealing with any galvanized mods, any of that. 195 exos. So 315 on a body shot. Headshot was that 2270. Once corrosive gets stacked all the way up. Not a ton of damage, but for regular star chart, it's pretty good. So everything's self-contained, and then we'll scale up from there. So let's assume Exilus slot is the next thing that you get. One of the mods that we'll put in work on this is because we have such high crit chance. Even just like a base hunter munitions, like just adding hunter munitions will increase the DPS on this pretty substantially. Let's do toxin. We'll change this over to malignant force. I'm having polarity issues. Okay. So just with base hunter munitions, you're gonna notice a pretty heavy kill time increase. And because we were getting corrosive from 290s going to a 60-60 and a 90 isn't that big of a DPS loss in terms of raw damage. But just having slash on the weapon is going to be a big deal. So 280 headshots was that 2017. Headshots can kill pretty quick, even against Steel Path enemies. So, you kind of see what the damage is. Actually, let me take off. I have acceleration on. Hold on. Gun. Alright, the damage is going to be the same, but the kill time's obviously going to go down. So 2017, but we gain a slash dot, right? The next way to scale this that I would recommend would be to go for viral. So that would be toxin and cold. This will give us viral, corrosive, and slash on the same weapon. And this is just like given alternatives. We're slightly scaling it, and then we'll go all the way to like a level cap build, right? So still regular build, nothing special. Just base multipliers. We're not doing faction mods. This is something so you can just grab and go. You know, say what you want about the damage, but because the weapon is pure corrosive, it does allow for very interesting elemental combinations. And you can see our damage is higher because we have corrosive and viral in the same weapon. So as they get stacked up, our damages get higher. Now our headshots deal 51 on a crit. Body shots are doing okay. Obviously, we don't have a lot of scaling on this. It's just a serration. And these are 195 Steel Path Exos. So about a 710 hit. That's not bad. So you would start out, if you get this for whatever reason, and you're really low level, just go corrosive. It's fine. You can also just do like a heat. Would be okay also, and do corrosive heat. And use these as like another element or something like that. Like you could do corrosive viral heat. There's nothing wrong with that. You would do something like this. Just try to get your raw damage as high as possible. If you look, our modded raw damage is 372.6. It's not messing around with too much. Just trying to deal with the low innate damage that this has. Just try to get some elements onto it. Scale serration, use serration and elemental weighting and elemental modding to recover some of the damage. So as you hit something with the beam, your damage is going to get higher, obviously, as the stacks go on. So now, your beam, if I can get a headshot with 10 stacks, probably not going to happen. Okay, stay still. So 3k, 4k, almost 5k. I think there was like 5100. Our damage is climbing. We also got slash to back us up. You can obviously reduce the viral weighting down more to get more heat dots. If you have, let's see what we got here. I need to swap some. We'll remove Amber Mutation for now. Okay, so infected would go to malignant force. That would lower the cold weighting or the viral weighting down. And to be honest, just with this, you're going to notice a bit of a difference. Going from 13 to 20%, you're going to stack your statuses way faster. And this will increase how quickly your damage climbs. It's obviously not going to increase how much it does, but you'll notice the status is climbing way faster. And to be honest, alright, so at 10 stacks, we can actually see what 10 stacks of everything is. And a full strip on heat is about 8k, 10ks, depending on the armor shred available, or the current armor shred of heat. So that's full strip. Full strip is a little over 10k. Like the full strip that the weapon on its own is capable of, without including like a frame or anything like that. Even though Necros has Terrify, right? So this would be an okay star chart build. Obviously, it's not great. Going into Steel Path, like we did trade 100 munitions for a heat dot. So if you don't want to use heat for whatever reason, you can use 100 munitions here. This would be something you would do if you were like a like an Ember player. With the one, I think it's the one augment puts heat on a weapon. You could do this as well. You wouldn't mod for viral if you were using Grendel. You could just do heat and 100 munition and use the mod space for something else. So let's scale it a little bit more. Let's say we're not mod restricted, but we're not at Steel Path. Say we just get to arbitrations. Okay, so Serration, crit again, and then we would do crit delay. If we have the option, speed trigger is sort of the default, but you do eventually take it off. So we're not going to do prime shred, but we're going to do regular shred. To give ourselves an additional form of scaling, we're going to get punched through. You're going to notice that your kill times do go up pretty well. Because you're hitting more than one enemy at a time. Obviously, this requires them to be lined up, right? So multi-shot again, split chamber. Let's do 100 munitions. And we're back to the sort of weird 2 extra slots. We've got our base multipliers, base damage, crit, crit chance, which brings us to 117, which is nice. So we're going to be seeing oranges occasionally. We got fire rate and punch through on one mod, so that's 2 different scalings. Multi-shot is a straight upgrade. So we get the choice of doing which scaling we want to do. Again, you could do corrosive if it is the mod setup that you have available. Again, you could also do viral. There's nothing wrong with that, especially if you're like limited in your mod setup. You notice the base damage does go down. We're not modding for heat. We're going to be using the additional crit tiers to increase our slash damage. But at the same time, if you don't have 100 munitions, a 90 heat mod would be kind of the next best in slot without going for like faction damage, right? And if you don't have a 90 heat for some reason, go farm one, right? So, very generic mods. This is a vault mod. This is probably the quote-unquote rarest mod here. And to be honest, I think this is actually pretty expensive now. Hold on, let me check Warframe Market. I'll give you a price right now. Critical delay. Okay, it's not too bad. It's 13p unranked. I don't know why you would buy that. I guess you would buy it anyway because it's only what, 5 ranks, so 25p for a max rank. Just buy an unranked if you want to skip the grind. Though to be honest, you should be doing vaults. There's great mods in there. You got like transient fortitude, blind rage, critical delay, critical deceleration. Critical deceleration is fantastic because what shotguns have like 90%. Their crit mod is like 90%, and the vault mod is like 200. Yeah, critical deceleration. Oh, they got the old one. Let's look up the wiki. Yeah, critical deceleration is 200%. The crit chance mod for shotguns is 90, so it's a straight up upgrade. Yeah, it's showing the old one. And critical deceleration is like 8p, just in case you want to know. Okay, so viral, 100 munitions, corrosive build, great elemental combination, to kill some Grenier, right? Obviously, we would ideally, in a perfect world, like to have viral corrosive heat, 100 munitions. But heat is just an additional element. We've already got a dot, and if you had to choose between heat or slash, you would obviously go with slash, right? For a more general use. So let's try it out on this guy. Oranges now are a little over 600. Yellows are 670. Okay, oranges are about 1200. And let's try to get a couple of headshots with some stacks. Alright, 4800. $9,200. Okay, so we're getting close to about the 10k mark. Let me try to get the 10. Okay, 10 and 10. Of course, I drop it. And the beam falls off as well. Okay, so about 5k, 9k, give or take, because we're having to deal with the beam damage every time we reload, right? Because with this weapon, the damage of the beam drops back when you reload and you stop firing. It drops back and then it builds from 20% to 100%, right? I mean, that information's on the wiki. That's not like a hot take or anything. Okay. So you have some options, right? The damage is definitely better. We're killing 195 Steel Path Exos in more or less a clip, right? Or a mag. So this would be sort of your go-to general Synapse build, right? You've got some decently rare mods. We're not dealing with primed mods or anything like that. We're not dealing with arcanes. Oh, and obviously, if you have it, vigilante supplies. And again, if you don't have 100 munitions because you haven't been doing bounties or whatever, heat would go here. So pretty simple. You would try to get the 90 mod on, and I would have to swap something. So it would be, where would this go? Here. Sorry, it would be this. Actually, this would be down here, wouldn't it? Yeah, viral corrosive heat. And this would just be your like next best in slot. Like slash would be more general damage, and the reason why the slash would outperform slightly is because even though we're viral corrosive and this is very very good against the Grenier, the slash is still going to bypass both forms of armor that the Grenier have, the ferrite and the alloy armor, and the heat is going to do fine against both of them, but it's really going to do well against the ferrite. But when you're trying to kill like overguarded enemies, those guys are going to be the ones that are going to have alloy, if any of them have it, right? Like you can get an Eximus for anything, but most of the time it's going to be like your Nox, or like your Bombards or whatever that are going to have the alloy, and the slash is going to be a positive for that. So where do we go from here, right? The builds start to diverge. So this is pretty standard. You can do viral corrosive heat when you start incorporating, say, like a Panzer. So if you were to do like a Panzer build, right, and you still haven't gotten to like arbitrations yet, you would remove viral from here, or say if you were using Grendel, if you're a Grendel enjoyer, 100 munitions back on. Okay, so we get viral from the Panzer, or viral from viral from Nourish if you're Helman thing. Both things you can get before you get to arbitrations, right? Um, so you would end up with kind of a free slot again. Now, a good option for this is Hammer Shot, but this is a pricey mod, so even though you can definitely get it, um, it it's a little too rare for me to recommend. Okay, but this would be a really good option. Gives you the status chance now that we have a dot on the build. Um, and the crit damage is obviously going to be, a net win. So you're going to end up with sort of a flex slot. You can do with it what you want, as long as you don't mess up the elements. You could do double fire rate. You could even do where's that one mod for heat? Wildfire magazine could be used here. So it is kind of dealer's choice. Even Argon Scope. Even Argon Scope has some uses with this weapon because it's innate corrosive and you only have heat on it. Modded onto it. You're actually going to be able to trigger this really easy. It's on headshot only. It's not like the galvanized one where you need kills. And this will push your crit chance even higher. Right? So it's going to push you up to what, over 150% easily. Actually, it would be way more. It'd be what, 139 plus what? 39 plus 135%. So it'd be 117 plus 55, so 172. It's an option that you're gonna pass through, so you're gonna end up with a little slot here for the time being. So let's test this out with the Panzer, and we'll see that damage as we pass through these builds. And these are a bunch of intermediaries trying to help you with the forma. None of these are really set in stone. Like the corrosive heat one's really good. The corrosive viral 100 munitions one is decent. I would say that's the go-to. Corrosive viral heat is another solid option as you complete the star chart. Hold on, I gotta kill enemies. And if you got a Panzer, if you went and farmed one up, which I highly recommend you do, your damage will look like this. But, yep. So now we're more dot focused. You're seeing the reds, nice and juicy. We're still lacking, not now, but we were still lacking some at 11k. Some crit that we're going to be putting on the weapon. But you can see we've moved our damage over to dots more. And this is going to be fine for now. The dots are going to be fine against like over guarded enemies, like over shields. Because the dots are going to give you an additional thing. You're going to lose your corrosive bonus against like ferrite. So the slash dots end up putting in a little extra work, and that's why I recommend the double dots, because that's going to help against those overguards. Technically, I always try to mention it, gas electric are the most effective elements against overguard, because overguard doesn't care what the element is. But when you're used to shooting this and you're used to seeing corrosive damage, and you're used to seeing the damage go up, it's kind of disappointing when you shoot something with overguard, because you're not going to get the shred. You're going to shoot it, you're going to see your damage go up by about five times, and then it's just going to sit there, and you're going to be staring at something with an overguard that's trying to kill you, right? So double dot's fine here. Just a little bit of alternative scaling. So okay, let's get to arbitrations. First thing, Split chamber, multi-shot, permanently goes to galvanized chamber for the rest of these builds. Okay, it's a straight upgrade. It's a fantastic upgrade. You get it from arbitrations. You you farm Vitus Essence from arbitrations, and then you turn the Vitus Essence into the Arbiters of Hexus, and this is a thing you can buy from the Arbiter of Hexus store with the Vitus Essence. So this isn't like a drop. This isn't something you're farming from arbitrations. You're farming a token to go buy this from their store. So pretty decent so far. This is a big multiplier. It's going to double our damage. It's going to double our slashes. It's going to double our heat. The next one, I know people aren't going to like it, but we're actually going to do Galvanized Aptitude. I've talked about this before. I have another video called modding for weapons with low status types. And this was relevant in the Gatva video that I did last week or whatever. You have to look at what else is going on with this weapon to see how many statuses are actually going. Because it looks like we only have 2, right? Corrosive Heat. But if you're using a Panzer, or if you're using a Sentinel that primes, like, and you're following the damage from the Sentinel, or you're doing like a, I don't know, like an energy generator, Death Cube, right? You're gonna have extra statuses to play with. So I would recommend, I can't recommend the Panzer enough, but even then, at a minimum, we have 3 damage types on this weapon. We have Corrosive Heat and Hunter Munitions, so that's 3 statuses. So this gets 3 statuses at a minimum just from the weapon to get the direct damage boost. And if you're running a Panzer, you'll get a fairly regular viral status to deal with also. So that brings you to 4, which is about average for what your damage is. You tend to shoot stuff with 4 to 6 status on it. Normally your weapon has IPS on it. So that's Impact, Puncture, Slash. You're going to mod it for a specific element, generally. And maybe you'll do a Hunter Munitions build. Like, what's really popular is a viral Hunter Munitions setup. And you'll use Prime Cryo rounds, Hunter Munitions to get slashed procs, the slash status type proc from crits, so it doesn't mess up your regularly occurring status chance procs. So that's 4 statuses. I run corrosive based weapons because I run the Panzer so much and I get my viral that way. So I normally run with 5, right? So IPS, corrosive, and Hunter Munitions. So that's 5. Well, this weapon is going to have 4, which isn't too bad, but what gets made up for it is Serration is sort of like a pseudo stack you can think of, right? So to go over the multipliers, some of the mods have changed. Serration is base damage again. This is also base damage, but also on top of it, this will help our kill rate by applying statuses faster. So to get the 10 stacks of corrosive, the 80% status chance, this is going to help us stack that back up. Technically, it is lower if you are running a dual 60-60 viral build with heat. But it's a nice compromise because you also get base damage, right? Which is going to help our modded damage. It's going to help our heat dots do more. It's going to help our slash do more. So it's an overall net win, right? Shred is the same. Critical Delay is going to be our go-to mod for crit chance for the rest of these builds. Vital Sense is going to be standard. It's the same thing, but the mods have changed, right? And Galvanized Chamber is going to give us way more multi-shot, which is going to increase our damage even more. So even though our modded damage looks lower, we now have 2 conditionals that will buff this up as we gain stacks. So still doing the 195 exos. We're going to wait for the Panzer to spit. Easy enough. So now we're at about 14k. About 20k. Hold on, I need one more stack of multi-shot. Alright, so let's check our damage. Alright, we're now at about 30k on body shots. Oh, okay. 6k, I think that was a headshot, that 30k. Let's check again. 62k, 46k on headshots. 13k. Yeah, 46k on an orange looks like. Was that 6,200, 3,400 on an orange and a yellow, respectively. 80 to 90 on an orange, a 7780 on a red. Thank you, Vigilante set. So you can see the damage has gone up, right? It's kind of, when you add those two galvanized mods, it's kind of hard for your damage to just not go up, right? So we still have corrosive, we still have heat, we still have hunter munitions, and the reason why we're modding this way is, and not modding corrosive, is because the weapon is corrosive completely already, but it also allows us to get the boost from galvanized aptitude. Now, in terms, just for transparency, if you have the log and reward prime shred, this is going to be the go-to primed mod, or for fire rate, right? I'm eventually going to put an arcane on called acceleration. It's a fairly cheap Eidolon arcane. I'm going to be running both eventually, okay, just to get the DPS up. But prime shred is definitely the best in slot fire rate mod. If you have not got this, and say in the next couple of days, if you have the option of getting prime, prime sure-footed, prime shred, prime fury, primed vigor, and I think there's another one. Go with prime sure-footed, and then do prime shred. And prime vigor is, I think, only useful on Chroma, if I remember correctly, because of his Vexarm passive, right? So if you have prime shred, don't pick this over prime sure-footed. But if you already have prime sure-footed and it's your turn to pick up the prime mod from your login rewards, go for prime shred. It's a really, really strong primary mod, right, for fire rate. But if you don't, shred goes here, right? So pretty basic. We're just trying to get our statuses up to give galvanized aptitude something to chew on. So where do we go from here, right? One of the things that tends to be pretty important, that as you get into Steel Path, and we'll talk about the Steel Path arcanes for a second. Primary Merciless, Primary Deadhead, and Primary Dexterity are the Acolyte arcanes. These all require different ways of stacking, right? Merciless is just on kill. It's a good time. Primary Deadhead requires headshots. Dexterity requires melee kills. In terms of like the easiest and most reliable way to get stacks is going to be the play style of swapping between your primary and your melee to get dexterity stacks. It's so easy to get, especially, listen, as much as I don't like it, the Glaive Prime is super popular. People are spending like crazy on it. But the Glaive Prime combined with primary dexterity on your primary is super easy to keep up, okay? But it means you're going to be swapping back and forth. But that also begs the question, why wouldn't you just kill him with your glaive, right? So it is up for debate, but the stacks on this last a wonderfully long time. And it also increases your combo duration. So if you get used to the play style, right? If you get used to the play style of swapping from your primary to melee, I would recommend using this for just easy stacks. So if you kill a couple enemies, the stacks take a while to fall off. It's 20 seconds. There's 6 stacks, so it takes, what, 20 times 6, that's 120. That's 2 minutes, right? Where Deadhead is 24, stacks up to 3x, that's, little over a minute, minute and a quarter. And Merciless falls off in less than a minute. So Dexterity, once you get the stacks up, you're going to have stacks for a while. You don't have to, maintain it too hard. That being said, Merciless, in terms of just running and gunning with your primary, gives you reload speed. And because of how they buffed the arcanes, the damage doesn't fall off any faster, but the on kill is what goes up, right? So it's plus 5%. It's not worth dropping a mod yet. So as you're running into the star chart, the steel path, you're not going to lose Serration yet, though admittedly you will eventually lose Serration and you'll replace Serration with another multiplier, right? So Merciless at rank 5, we'll show it here. It's all base damage increase rank 4 to unranked, but at rank 5, and the same with Deadhead, at rank 5 it gains the additional bonus, 30% reload. So as you're gaining arcanes, when you're making that awkward transition from regular star chart to steel path, it's kind of dealer's choice, right? So primary dexterity, unranked, gives you plus 60% damage, and this is additive to Serration, right? It's modifying the same way. We'll give you plus 60 at unranked. At rank 1, it gives you 120. So this won't even beat Serration until rank 2. Now that's going to be pretty easy to get. And frankly, I'm pretty sure these rank 5s on these are dirt fucking cheap. So if you want to go ahead and sort of like sneak one in and buy one, you could, and there's a barrow around, like a barrow visit, you can probably sell some prime junk if you're in that awkward window where you just started Steel Path. And to be honest, I know when I get new bros in my clan that I know are making the jump between the regular star chart and Steel Path, if I know that they're making that jump, a lot of times I'll just give them the arcanes. Like all rank 5, like 6 of them. So for the primary and the secondary, Deadhead, Dexterity, Merciless, I'll just give them a full set for the primary and secondary because I literally have hundreds of them, right? But if you're a solo player, you're trying to farm it up, you can't get rid of Serration yet. But Merciless, the stacks fall off super fast. Deadhead is eventually what we're going to go with. But for now, we're going to test with Merciless at rank 5 and a Serration. This is an awkward middle ground build. It's not like a real build, right? This is sort of like when you don't have everything built up correctly and you're still farming for shit, right? So exact same thing, primary Merciless. This gives 360 base damage. Serration gives 165. So we're basically tripling our damage, right? A little more. Or tripling the additive bonus to our base damage. Let's see what our actual base damage increase is. So we go 265 because it's 100%, which is the innate. Obviously, 100% of the whole is 100% plus 165 from Serration is 265 plus 360 is 625 divided by 265. Okay, so we're going to increase our damage by 2.4 times. So if we were dealing 100 damage before, we're going to be dealing 235 damage now. So it's not triple. It's like 2 1/4, 2 1/3. But either way, it's free, right? It doesn't affect our build. We just slot it over here. And when we get faster reload, and if we can keep our kills up, this is where we're going to be getting our additional damage from. So let's go ahead. Same build, but we've added an arcane. And we're going to wait for the Panzer to spit. Alright, we're going to get stacks. The first stack is the hardest. These are pretty tough enemies. Trash mobs are going to be your friend when stacking stuff up, and the galvanized aptitude and multi-shot are going to be your friends to keep your damage up when if your merciless falls off, especially when you're just getting it. Let's go ahead and get some headshots to speed this up. Alright, we're at 6 stacks. Let's see where we're at. Alright, 8k, 10k, 11k. I saw 10.8. 10.8. Vigilante set got us to 12. A headshot was 23. Headshot was 48k on an orange. 40.3. And the slash dots are doing, or the dots are doing anywhere from 15 to about 24k. Okay. This build is steel path viable as of right now. If you wanted to use it, the only real way to upgrade it as an intermediate build would be Prime Shred. And this would be with a max rank Arcane Merciless. So, still, no Prime mods. We're doing alright. It's double dot. We got Corrosive Innate. And this will do reasonably well, more or less, against Acolytes. So, where do we go from here? So the next step, if you will, would be to build something a little more steel path viable, right? So Hellfire is actually going to go away. Serration is going to go away. We are going to throw a monster corrosive on here, actually. Okay. So our base damage is, our modded base damage is 90. Our status chance is higher. Actually, let me just double check that. Okay, 20. Okay. So we'll do a 90 in electricity. And Toxin is 60-60. Okay, because this one's the easiest to get. It's from Vor in the Void. Just kill them a couple times, you'll probably get a stack of them. Okay, so the reason why we're modding like this, even though we lose an element, right? And again, it's going to be sort of the same thing. You can swap out Hunter Munitions for Heat if you don't have Hunter Munitions, right? The reason why we're modding like this is because of Acolytes. You're going to be trying to mow enemies down. You're going to be using your punch through to hit multiple enemies at the same time. The Acolytes die significantly faster to raw damage. It's one of the things you'll notice, like with like Overguard, for example. When running the viral Hunter Munitions build, it tends to be a little surprising to people when they're so used to their slash procs having that bonus 325 damage to health attached to them. So, like, if you had a slash proc that was dealing 1,000 damage, it would be doing 4,250, right? Because it's plus 325% health, right? Damage to health. So for 4.25 or whatever it works out to, that when they get to an Acolyte, and the Acolyte has its unique damage attenuation scaling, and it's maxed on the number of status procs it can get. When you're used to shooting something and seeing how fast it dies with like 60 Hunter Munition procs on it, all of a sudden an Acolyte shows up and goes, lol, that's nice, you're getting 4 of those. It doesn't click immediately that, hey, my damage just got cut by like down to like what, 5% if you're doing a slash build. To counter that, you mod for like a heavy corrosive on a puncture. What is it? It's corrosive puncture against the acolytes. Um, is like the highest raw damage against them, and crit, like red tier, like red crit, right? Is the way to counteract it and one shot them. Like now, because we're using a Synapse, we're not going to have to worry about dealing with like the max base damage that they can. There's another. They have a very weird damage attenuation where it caps the amount of base damage that they take. It really only affects like heavy attack builds, right? Like a primary isn't going to matter. So modding for corrosive is a way to sort of counteract this. So this is going to be your next step. It's going to be heavy corrosive. We gain some elemental modding. We lose some base damage. We look weaker, but it's because we've removed a form of additive scaling. So we just have Merciless now. So as we're running around killing, we're going to be killing, and when an Acolyte pops in, we're going to smack it with this. So we have no base damage yet. We have no multi-shot, we have no galvanized aptitude stacks, we have no merciless stacks. And our headshots are like 1,500. Okay, we got one of each. 4,700 on a red. Thank you, Vigilante set. Alright, we're at 18k on a headshot, orange. 5,500 on a orange body shot. 5,200 on an orange. 28 on a yellow. Let's go back to headshots, 12k. Not bad so far. And this is going to be one of those things where it's like, because this is stack based, it's really hard to gain stacks at the bottom, but if with trash mobs, it's a lot easier to keep this up and mow the stronger enemies down for like base steel path. Alright, the slash dot is hitting for 4k on a headshot. It's hitting for 24k. 32k on a slash tick. There's some damage there, right? So technically it is doing less damage, but the bonus is that it's doing more appropriate damage. So any damage that we lose, we gain back ineffective damage, right? Because going double dot kind of screws you a little bit against, or not entirely, but it going for a dot build at all against an Acolyte, you're going to find your damage, unless it's revolving around like a massive single hit, like a glaive build. Unless it's revolving around a massive single dot hit, you're going to notice your damage is down. And with the Acolyte's damage attenuation, you're going to notice your dots aren't hitting. All of them aren't going to be hitting for as hard, right? So that to counter that, you do base damage and raw damage. It's just kind of how you have to do it in order to like. That's like the trick with like one-shotting Acolytes, right? Is crit tiers. Base damage up to I think like 11,500 base damage, and then it's crit tiers and corrosive weighting to one-shot an Acolyte, right? Is the easiest path to follow. But we still need this weapon to work in like a regular steel path mission. So against like other enemies. So this is like a middle ground. But if you can get to this, you're gonna have something that can kill all of the Grineer on the steel path, right? You still have a little bit of dot from the hunter munitions. You have a bunch of corrosive weighting. It does gain the benefit. Just trying to sell it as much as possible. You do get a very linear scaling with this compared to normal, where you have like damage you have like proc dilution. This is 31% status chance at a 13% fire rate. You're going to get 10 stacks of corrosive very, very quick. So there's not going to be any real ramp up due to the armor shred, where before we weren't getting our armor shred at like for the lower level regular star chart build. This is going to be a real quick 10 stacks, and we're going to start hitting the hardest this can with its raw damage. Now, obviously, if you have something like a Panzer or like a Nourish from a Grendel, again, it's perfectly fine here. Just go ahead and use them. It's not going to interfere. But this would be like a good, hey, I've got a Steel Path ready build. Right? It's not going to take you to level cap, but in terms of just dicking around the star chart, it's going to be fine. The next immediate way of scaling this is going to be Deadhead. Because of the way this beam weapon works and its damage amp, it's pretty easy to keep the headshot multiplier up, even though we're going to be getting a lot of our damage from the dot. The fact that it's a beam is going to help us out tremendously. There's our first one. But you gotta be willing to, you know, aim for headshots. So just like that, we've got 3. And once you get it, you can kind of just keep it up. But now you can see corrosive gets to 10 stacks super easy. These enemies aren't as hard. Hey, we finally got over 100k for the first time on this weapon. Nice little 120 gifted from the Vigilante set. 81k is what our oranges are. Yellows are, I think I saw a 41k. So 81k on an orange, 41k on a yellow. Obviously it was mid-strip and is what it is. So the additional multiplier is going to be nice. Obviously recoil isn't that much of a bonus. It is nice though. But just due to the nature of the weapon and the fact that it's pure corrosive, and the fact that it is a beam weapon, if you don't mind aiming for headshots, this is very, very easy to keep up. So if you can get used to it, I recommend this. It's super nice. But if you don't like it for whatever reason, or you have, say, like a Riven with base damage, like I have one that has base damage, 147, I run Merciless because of the Riven when I'm doing like a viral build, right? So it's kind of up to you. If you don't mind the headshots, this weapon pays dividends. So how do we scale it even more, right? We start sort of removing elements, right? The next one, and we're going to start incorporating primed mods, is actually going to be a frostbite build in terms of raw damage. Frostbite is the first time we've mentioned it on cold status effect. I'm going to be including this in all of my build videos for now, just because of how potent it is, right? So it's a beam weapon. The multi-shot's going to increase the damage, and obviously we have enough room on this to run crit damage also. So we're going to have a nice crit damage multiplier. It's a 100 munitions build. This is going to do way better against the Grenier. This weapon is meant to kill the Grenier, so we are using a faction mod. Prime Shred goes on. Serration for base damage, obviously. And Prime Cryo, because we really don't care as much about corrosive in this point of view, because we've gone full dot. We want the raw damage that the primed cryo gives, and we want the crit damage that cold gives, and this primary frostbite to stack as fast as possible, because in order to get this build to work, we had to sacrifice status chance. If you notice, this is not a galvanized aptitude build. That being said, if you want it, I'm going to show the damage to this, and then we'll show the alternative to this, right? With galvanized aptitude, it does hella damage also, but I like the primed cryo build. So again, frostbite. Wait for this thing to spit. Easy enough. So we're going to be getting our multi-shot, or our stacks, not from having a high status chance, but from punch through, and then just having a lazy RNG session after that. Okay, so headshot slash is 18k, 23k, little 79k there. Slashes are a couple thousand, 13k and 11k. This is more of a slash focused build, right? Now, one of the things you can do, I like this one personally. Arguably, there is a more effective way to build this. Like, it just performs better, but I'm pretty much falling in love with the Frostbite Arcane, because it's an Arcane that doesn't have to stack. Or it's not dependent on kills. So, for, like, slash builds, I've been using the hell out of it, because, frankly, slash wasn't doing super well compared to the other ones in terms of, like, kills per second. Like, you could mod for, like, a really high slash. But I've been running full strip builds for so long that, like, gas electric have been, like, my go-to for a bit. Unless it's, like, on something like the Stalta. Like, of course I'm going to run, like, slash on that. So, say I want to get higher stash, or higher slash weighting, right? And I hate faction mods. Get rid of that. Galvanized aptitude goes here. Cold goes back here. Do a 60-60. And galvanized aptitude is going to have viral, cold, corrosive, and hunter munitions to chew on. So we're back to 4 damage types to boost galvanized aptitude. And this is going to make up for not having a faction mod. So if you don't like faction mods, that's cool. I get it. And you don't want a prime to remove prime cryo, this would be like a good middle ground. Not a great middle ground, but a good middle ground. It still does damage, though. Obviously, we wouldn't be talking about it unless it did. So let's take a look at that damage. So it's still got 4 elements to chew on, which is as much as your normal IPS viral hunter munitions build, which is what I'm seeing a lot of people running. Go get some stacks. Now the issue is going to be is that this dot build is not going to have a good time against acolytes. I mean, obviously the damage is nice, so 42k, 39k. $12k, 6k, 11k. 53k, 35 on headshots. So it's a slash build that's dependent on cold. So it depends on which direction you want to go in. There is a bit of compensation with this build over the other one, even though I do like that one. The other one gives way more raw damage. In terms of performance, it just feels like it works better. It's one less stack to worry about. Not that galvanized aptitude was super hard to keep up. But this would technically perform better. Well, not technically, it does perform better. But I just like running the Prime Cryo. The weighting is super nice. Helps, and it feels like, obviously this was doing incredibly well against the Exos, but it feels like running the Prime Cryo variant does better against alloy armor. And I know that's a little weird, but because it's a slash build, but it just feels like the Prime Cryo performs better against alloy units. So it is what it is, right? Because you get that bonus damage against it with cold against alloy. So this would be like a better slash build. You wouldn't have a faction mod on here though. Where you would put it if you did, like say you actually wanted to like scale further, is you would actually replace Vital Sense. Because Frostbite gives us crit damage, and it gives us the same amount of crit damage as Vital Sense. The Primed Bane would slot over Vital Sense. Obviously, none of this is including like a Riven, right? So, food for thought, this would be where your build sits if you want to do the Frostbite Synapse build for 100 munitions. Sorry about that. Needed a drink of water. Oh, and obviously run an upgraded rifle ammo mutation or vigilante supplies. One of the things that I did like about this weapon, in terms of selecting an Exilis mod for ammo mutation, is I didn't feel like it really needed primed rifle ammo mutation. I didn't feel like it. Even though technically it is way more, a way higher amount of ammo to get back. The fact is the ammo pickup is 80. And the beam length, I think it's like high 20s. So it's up to you what you want to put here. If you don't have vigilante supplies, regular rifle ammo mutation is a-okay. But vigilante supplies for the little, crit damage increase, or the crit tier chance, right? Okay, so next, we're going to talk about arcanes. If you want to min-max this a little bit, arcane acceleration is the way to go. I just don't feel like this needs acceleration, or not acceleration, rage. Where's it at? Yeah, arcane rage on headshot, 15% chance for 180 damage to primary, or plus 180% damage to primary weapons. This is additive to merciless, deadhead, not including the headshot multiplier, and serration, right? The weapon does good damage if you have rage and not acceleration. Obviously, build accordingly. It'll work if you don't have acceleration, but I really, really like the acceleration setup, and I'll show you that right now. Even though we're running Prime Shred, the weapon does feel a little bit sluggish. So let's see, no stacks. So the slash ticks don't do more damage, but you get more of them faster. Obviously, it's an increase in fire rate. And you can see where it's starting to get, right? And when you incorporate headshots, the damage is starting to get nicer. And it's a dot build, right? Like most of our damage is coming from 100 munitions still. In terms of like total damage, obviously the instance of damage on it is super nice. So you're starting to get into a better scaling. I would perfectly be comfortable saying the Synapse is a really good weapon to build and use exclusively on the Grineer. It's just set up so nice, right? So where do we go from here, right? Obviously there's more scaling. We've been talking about dot builds though. Let's talk about a raw damage build, because this has got a really, really nice raw damage build on it also. The next thing we're going to do, cold goes away. Because of this weapon feels really easy to get headshots on, you can actually do a super nice raw damage build on it. You have, flex slots. Let me get Crit damage back on here. Where you at? Alright, so it's triple galv mods. Okay, so we're starting to get into stuff that requires Forma. This is going to be something a little bit more appropriate for, say, like a level cap. Let me see if I can even fit this on here. This is going to be the strip build for viral. Okay. So this is going to be your strip build if you're doing like a demo killing setup. It's pure viral. Sorry, no, it's not. Hold on. Okay, now it's pure viral. With galvanized scope, this weapon can hit reds pretty easily. Okay, and if you're doing demo killing, you can, with a 12-second stacks on it, and if you're willing to aim, this weapon does hella damage. Okay, so crit delay, vital sense, galvanized aptitude, galvanized chamber, prime cryo rounds, malignant force, your bane. So it's all the goodies plus the additional multiplier of the headshot. If you're willing to put in the work to keep everything stacked up, this can do a tremendous amount of damage. And obviously we're getting fire rate from the arcane acceleration. So let's take a look at that. Alright, so just shooting this on its own. And this is armored enemies. I have not stripped yet. Yeah, again, if you're willing to aim. So 77k raw. Alright, so 575k on a red. 475k on a red. 401k. So there's a bit of damage here, and that's on a beam weapon, right? So that's a single instance of damage. This will get you to cap. Okay. But obviously, like, admittedly, this is a lot of conditionals, but if you can keep them up, obviously it's a-okay, right? So this would be an example of a raw damage build for level cap. You could... I don't know why you wouldn't use a Bane mod here. And this would need priming as well. So keep in mind, the 400k on the headshot was a headshot multiplier. So obviously it was a headshot on a crit. So it had the 6x multiplier. So the native hit was probably somewhere around, what would that be? Hold on, let me grab a calculator. Let's just say it was 400 divided by 6. So that crit was probably 66k. But the headshot got it up higher. So that was the crit before galvanized aptitude got to do anything, because there was no status on that except for viral. So it had one stack of galvanized aptitude with a heavily weighted viral weapon and no priming. So it was primed with one element, right? And it died in one hit. Boom. So just an example of the damage. There's nothing in the simulacrum that I can full strip and actually show you what the full scaling is. Like I can try. I'll show you an example of it. So this is going to be more of a disruption build. It's going to take work setting this up. Yeah, viral only. Let me see if I can even... Okay. Yeah, because of the beam, it's cutting the damage in half, or into a fifth. I think it's a 20% to 100%. Um, so if you were doing a demolist, like a disruption build, you would line it up, strip, obviously, and then hit it in the head, and your damage would get multiple. You could either view it as it loses uh, the damage nerf where it goes from 20% to 100%. Let me just double check this. Not that one. Not that one. They mentioned it, and I remember testing this. Okay, the damage ramps from 20% to 100%. It has a native 20% additional scaling. I think this is additive with Deadhead. Ramps up from 20% to 100% over 0.6 seconds. So you can either view this as the weapon multiplies its damage by 5, or you lose the 80% damage nerf. The numbers are going to work out. So if I'm taking my finger off of the trigger, 0.8 seconds, it decays back to 20. So the numbers are jumping around because the damage hasn't ramped. It's got the nerf in effect that you need to lose, or the damage to gain, or however you want to think about it. So the damage this weapon will do, if you are willing to go for headshots, could be pretty easily in the low millions, just with no riven or anything like that. Obviously gonna need strip for a viral build, right? So the weapon's got a lot going for it. You can definitely get a ton of damage out of it. You saw me sitting there doing a little hunt and peck on the headshots. And I think the highest one that I got was probably getting a red crit and getting a vigilante supplies proc. I think it got up to like 970. But most of the time it was 400 to say like 700k on a headshot. So there's a lot you can gain from doing headshots with this weapon. There's a lot of damage you can get, and obviously it's got a very nice power curve to it. But it is more for where you're not worried about like kills per second, right? If you're doing like say like killing a boss, um, actually, I don't even know if I can say that seriously. I mean, what boss takes a ton of time to kill? Where you, besides like Vor, right? Where he's got that, um, what is it, Vor and Lieutenant Krill or whatever, and it's only because he's got the shield, right? Um, but if there's something that's like tanky, like a Steel Path Demolist, where you can actually put 2 to 3 seconds into like the enemy's head, this will easily get to level cap. So priming goes a long way. A viral build goes a long way. It's got the additional headshot multiplier. Um, Stacks well with Deadhead. I think it's additive. I'm not 100% sure on that. Obviously, I could test it, but the weapon does so much damage. You can get it to millions pretty quickly, especially with good priming, right? So I hope this helps. I don't know if this was overkill. Um, and I guess I covered the Steel Path build. There's the Frostbite build. There's the regular Merciless Corrosive Hunter Munition with Galvanized Aptitude. You could do Heat Hunter Munitions. Obviously, talked about that. So I think that covers it. I know I'm just sort of talking here. And if you want, yeah, it'd be perfectly fine running this scope, 100 scope, and the faction goes away. Shred goes here, and 100 munition goes here, and this would be your viral corrosive build. And the Forma setup that I have allows you to jump between everything pretty easily with the higher end setups. You're just gonna have to move around Galvanized Aptitude. So V dash V across the top, D empty V on the bottom, and Exilus is a dash. So even with this, where it's a viral 100 munitions build, even with Deadhead, this is the build I'm generally running. Like, the only thing that changes is I'm using a Riven, which has cold on it. So Cryo goes away, Galvanized Aptitude goes away, Crit Delay moves here, and Cold goes here, and ta-da, you have the build that I'm using. So, pretty basic, and this is what I run Steel Path with when I'm running around just shooting shit, right? So, it is what it is. I hope this helped. I know I talked for a while, but Arty Prevents Camping 1645 has been waiting for a while for his Synapse video. So I think I talked about as much of this as possible. So just to cover last couple of things, and I'll make it short. Don't mod viral if you're running Nourish. If you don't mind keeping it up, it allows you to take viral off the weapon completely. And the reason why I use this Riven specifically is because it does allow me to take this off and run a Frostbite build, in which case I would drop down to a lower rank Vigilante supplies, put Serration in here, right? Ta-da, I get my cold, I get Serration, I got damage, which is part of the reason why I got this Riven. Rolled it myself, all 51 rolls. And the Exilus goes to whatever the hell I need. So like an ammo mutation, rifle ammo mutation. And I'll run like a Frostbite, right? So the mod setup combined with the Riven gives a bunch of flexibility, but obviously you're not going to have this Riven. But this is what I'm running with it. And I'll bounce between the viral setup or like a Frostbite setup, depending on what I want to do, what frame I'm running, if I have access to Nourish. Because obviously you wouldn't run Nourish on, or run a viral setup and Nourish. You would want the additional multiplier. Or maybe you just want a shitload of viral on it. So it's up to you. But anyway, I hope this helps. Arty Prevents Camping. Good to be making videos. I know it's been a while. Sorry that took so long. Oh, and as this is buried at the ass end of a hour and 20-minute Synapse video, over the weekend I'm going to be doing a Mott Talks. There's going to be another Mott cast. So that's going to be happening, because those don't happen very often. But also Nova, Umbral, Sajin, myself, and let me see if I can pull this up. Hopefully this isn't on the primary monitor. And Gray Allen, which is another YouTuber. It's a challenge I've always wanted to do. The ultimate meme in the level cap area of Warframe, right? Running disruption level caps is run the shittiest weapon you possibly can. And since people like Dystopia exist, and there's I forget the other one. There was another guy that was running. One ran a Toxic Lash build with the Mark I Bratton against the Corpus. I'm pretty sure that was Dystopia. And there was another one where it was like Something Plays that did another Sarin build with the Mark I bow against the Grenier. The only thing left in my eyes for a level cap video, and Gray Allen has volunteered to be our new player to Warframe. I think he's MR9, MR10, but he doesn't have a lot of hours. And I think he picked up Warframe like a week ago. Like, he's really new. So Sajin Khan, Nova Umbral, and myself are going to run support. And we are going to keep this guy alive and damage his... and increase his damage so much that he will be able to kill the Demolus at level cap, and he will carry us. So the challenge was... Mark 1 weapons have all been done at level cap. and especially since the Incarnate shit came out, right? So the only thing left is to get a new bro to carry experienced players to level cap. And the rules are, because I don't even think he has Steel Path yet, is we can kill trash mobs, we can strip the Demolist, we can prime the Demolist, but we cannot kill the Demolist. He has to do it. So we're going to keep him alive, assuming a gratuitous amount of Vazarin protective dashing is going to be going on. Eclipse, Vex Armor, Roar are all probably going to be on hand, trying to get this guy's damage up, because he doesn't even have the combo counter mods. So I think he has like a half-ranked Galvanized Chamber or something like that, and doesn't even have completed Steel Path stuff. So he's going to bring whatever he thinks is the best. We're not going to help him. We can't give him mods. He's going to bring his best build, and the idea is that we are, because obviously we're supposed to be good at the game, right? It's like, oh, if you're so good at the game, take the worst weapon in the game to level cap. Well, that shit's been done. So now if you're so good at the game, you should be able to get a new bro to carry you to level cap, and you can keep him alive when he doesn't really know what he's doing. So we're going to try not to help him too much. He's volunteered to be the guinea pig, so that's going on this weekend. And it's a challenge I've always wanted to do. And we found somebody that was another YouTuber, so expect shenanigans. I might even stream this on YouTube, because it's going to be 4 people in Discord talking shit, and I'm assuming a ton of panic going on. So if you made it this far, that's the upcoming videos over the weekend. Thank you for listening. I'm going to end the video here. Y'all have a blessed day. Take it easy, guys.